Welcome to yet another episode of Show Friday. On this week's episode we are going to talk about the hog in Roundhog serpent. My name is Ore Bronkhorst. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is a classic western hognose snake. She's a female and her name is Kaya. Now, I don't know if I have told you why I keep hognose snakes, but there are two reasons. First of all, they remind me of the common adder, the common viper here in the Netherlands. To be honest, I don't know why, because if I look at both species side by side, they don't look anything alike, other than the structure of their scales and maybe a little bit of the base color. Maybe it is because they live in the same type of habitats, but more on that later. Second, because breeding ball pythons became that simple to me due to all the knowledge I picked up over the years. And I wanted a little bit of a challenge alongside breeding ball pythons. So I picked this species, western hognose snakes, because I really, well, as I mentioned in the first statement, I really love this species. I always loved this species, and I wanted to breed them, but I didn't know anything about breeding these animals. And because I wanted a little bit of a challenge, I only did minimal research into how to breed them. I only researched what are the safe temperatures to brumate them, and what they eat, and the normal. I spooked her a little bit, and the normal husbandry things, because of course you do want to take care of them, but I didn't look up very specific what to do, when to start hibernating, when to stop hibernating, which is the absolute ideal spot, when do you introduce the males. I didn't really research that, and I feel you thinking, why would you do that? Well, as I said, to make the challenge a little bit harder, so I had to figure it out, because before I had Roundhog serpents, I always had snakes. And one of the most fun parts about that hobby of mine was I used to pick unpopular snakes, not critical endangered or something, or very hard to come by, but just animals you don't see a lot. And also I tried not to pick up wild caught animals, always kept bred. So I knew it was possible to breed them, but then also with minimum research I tried to breed them, and most of the time, to be honest, they came down to brumating temperatures and brumating periods. But because they were a European species, it's quite easy to figure out when the period starts and when it stops, and what should be the somewhat ideal range to brumate them, temperature-wise. So I did have some experience with breeding colubrids. So I didn't go in all blank. So right. Yeah, as I was putting her back, I did realize that starting to breed hognose snake, because it's in my logo, it's in the description of my website. You know, Roundhog serpents we specialize in ball pythons and western hognose snakes. So people start asking about the hognose snakes, especially at the tables. All I see is baby ball pythons. Where are the hognose snakes? Have you snow out? No, I haven't produced hognose snakes yet. They start talking, and then every once in a while somebody who knows about hognose snakes, breed hognose snakes, or the people who sell you those hognose snakes, they ask you about hognose snakes, and then I look like an absolute idiot, because I don't know some of the basic common knowledge things that that you need for breeding hognose snakes. So I did came over like an absolute idiot. Sometimes, which is quite funny, and I'm sure they wonder. They had a what the fuck moment. But oh well, it's for myself. It's for my own challenge. But to be honest, I have 6 adult hognose snake females, and 4 of them laid eggs already. One of them is very close, and then my axanthic doesn't seem to be pregnant, so I put in the male again. She did shed though, but she doesn't look pregnant, so I did put in the male again. He did show interest. Maybe it was a normal shed, and then now she can actually still make some eggs because she's quite fat. I feed her good. She's a big sausage, so it would be nice to make some axanthic set for Toffee Belly. So back to the habitat situation, but because I do try to insert a little bit of helpful information into every Show Friday video, and the classic hognose snakes is not very good material for giving information by your own. So I decided to tell a little bit about the habitat situation. Because don't you think it's weird that in every care sheet they emphasize on not keeping them too humid because it causes respiratory problems. But don't you find it weird then that they eat amphibians in the wild? There is a simple explanation for that actually, and then we can tie it back to what I said in the beginning of the video. They share a habitat with the common adder. They don't. Here in the Netherlands, the common adder only lives in the meadows, and you don't find hognose snakes in the meadows per se. You can find them in grassy lands and grass plains and different habitats that have some key elements. It needs to be open, so there's a lot of wind. There's a constant breeze going through it, and there needs to be water nearby for the amphibians. That's the meadow here in the Netherlands as well. It's open. It's often open, so there's a lot of fresh air breezing to it, and then there is a lot of water in the meadow. That's what the meadow plants needs to grow. So there were a lot of amphibians as well, although that's not the main food source of the common adder. They do eat rodents, but they do live in that kind of habitat, and you can find them in grassy lands in other countries, but here in the Netherlands apparently the meadow is the only very suitable habitat for them. Now back to Western hognose snakes. The thing is, they do need moisture because, well, they need to incubate their eggs, of course, and so they do need moisture for that, and you can't incubate eggs in dry sand or gravel. But the key factor is that fresh air that blows constantly over the grassy plains, making the air very dry and fresh. Because the problem with humid enclosures is that the air becomes stale, and a perfect habitat for bacterial growth. And not only ball pythons, not only hognose snakes are susceptible for that, but all snakes, also ball pythons, all snakes are susceptible for that stale air. So I think that if you would put a ball python on moist substrate, but have very good ventilation, forced with an airflow, a forced airflow, with constant fresh air, not out of your snake room, but just fresh air, it will be alright. You will see that it will probably thrive. And the way I solve that, because I have all my snakes in one room, and it is quite warm and it is quite humid in here. The relative humidity in this room is almost never below 60%. It's usually more into the 70%, and that is too humid for Western hognose snakes. But I use a substrate that is very good at absorbing moisture. So what happens is that inside the enclosure the moisture gets absorbed, and there's also, it's a little bit more warmer there, so the relative humidity gets lower. And if you want to know how that works, it's a fun segue into the new playlist that's coming up. If you want to know how that works, you can see it in the near future in the new playlist, Foundation Explanation. Because believe it or not, I'm running out of snakes to show you all. and I need a new subject. So, but that's for next week's video. I will do the introduction video of Foundation Explanation. Yeah, so back to my setup. What I do, I use a substrate that is very good in absorbing moisture. I swap out that substrate frequently so it doesn't get saturized, and I give them a humid height, all of them, the females, the males, all of them year round. So they have a closed container with a tiny hole in it, so not a lot of moisture can get out of the humid container and then humidify the entire enclosure, because that's not really great. So that way they can regulate their humidity if they want. And most of the times you will find them outside the humid height, and then when they need to shed, they go into the humid height. And then the females, of course, after hibernation, they go pretty quick into the humid height, especially after they have bred to a male. I did have another topic though for this video, the hognose gland, but I'm a little bit scared. I'm making a long video again, and I do understand that there are only a few of you willing to sit through a 30-minute video of me talking about the hidden value of classic ball pythons. It is quite dry, it is not spectacular with explosions and everything, I understand. So I'm really trying to keep the videos under 10 minutes. So I'm not going to talk about the hognose gland, but I will in another hognose video, or even maybe I'll do a special episode on it, because it is actually quite interesting. In short, to pique your interest, the hognose gland is the gland where the toxins from the hognose snakes are coming from. But it is much more than that. So yeah, I'll probably do a separate video on it, going in depth. Maybe we can do a in-depth video every once in a while, right? Not a Show Friday video. It's not foundational explanation, because you can live without knowing what the hognose gland does, but it's for the real nerds between us, like myself. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed the video. I would love to thank you for your time, and hopefully see you in the next one. Bye.